Okay, let us begin again from the beginning. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere, neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hatred or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desire for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. Okay, with this metta thought in mind, let us begin our practice of mindfulness. As we mentioned in the past, let us focus our mind on our breath and notice inhaling as inhaling, exhaling as exhaling. Notice also as we breathe in, the breath touching the rims of our nostrils, expanding lower abdomen, expanding chest area. As we breathe out, lower abdominal contracts, chest area contracts, the breath leaves our nostrils, and then we feel the feeling of breath. We perceive the breath. We are paying mindful attention or thought of breath and conscious of breath. They change as we breathe in, then they change as we breathe out. And this is what is happening, whether we like or not, they naturally happens. And then, since there is nothing very special, only special thing is our awareness of this reality, then seeing the reality, we become very delightful. That makes our body relax, the breath relax, the mind relax. With this relaxed feeling, we continue our practice. Then we see whatever we try to cling to will no longer be there. It disappears as it appears. That is the nature of things. And then, since we are relaxed, body, mind, breath, everything is relaxed. We are very not uptight, not rigid, but relaxed. Then our resentment or anger fades away. When that happens, we also becomes fully aware of our purpose of the practice, that is our compassion for all living beings. As compassion arises, restlessness and worry fades away, and then we become even more relaxed, energetic, because we see what is happening. Then our sleepiness and drowsiness fade away, and then all this will show us the results of our practice this very moment, then our doubt about the practice, about the method, the teaching and the Buddha, all doubts will vanish, mind even become more clear, pure, calm and peaceful. That leads to joy, and that joy leads to happiness. When the mind and body are happy, we gain concentration. This concentration is not on one particular object, but the, the reality of change, impermanence. Everything is impermanent, and then we gain concentration on impermanence. And this we reflect on our own feeling, perception, thought, and consciousness, and they too are changing as we see even the subtlest changes. Our mind becomes even sharper and clearer to see the reality. And with this, let us continue our practice. Dukkha patthaca nidukkha bhaya patthaca nibhaya soka patthaca nisoka hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. With this very noble wish, let us continue this morning session. Uh, I hope you all remember that I was talking on dependent origination, and today this is another step of the dependent origination that I am going to talk on. Once again, I want to remind you, we came to desire. That is one of the aspect of desire is called asava, and we suggested there are ways of overcoming asavas. We use Sabbha Asava Sutta, overcoming cankers, discourse. There are 7 steps. We mentioned them earlier. One is dasana, other is restraint, third is using, fourth is avoiding, fifth is overcoming, sixth is again avoiding. The last is bhavana or meditation. And the meditation is divided into 7 factors of enlightenment. We discuss them, and we discuss some details of the fact of investigation of Dhamma. And today is a continuation of that aspect of investigation of Dhamma. I mentioned that there is a very beautiful discourse where dependent origination is explained in terms of ascending order. From the when you hear the ascending order and descending order, I am sure an image will appear in your mind. Descending is very easy. Coming down, when something is up, it is easy for it to come down. But the ascending order is going up, that is difficult. So, when something descends, we don't have to prepare in advance. But when we ascend, we have to lay the foundation and make it very strong. Just like when you build a house, the foundation must be very strong, and otherwise the building will not stand. Similarly, in this order, number one is to be virtuous. The word virtue we use for seal, moral principles. Also, I mentioned that one doesn't have to wait until the moral principle is completely perfect to start the practice. As one practices, one can see how he stumble over certain memories of certain things. But he makes a commitment, I will not going to do that, and from now on I will be practicing this principle. So you renew the principle and make it firm and strong. When one has that principle, what you call virtue, as a principle, the foundation, then the person does not have to wish. Let none regret arise in me. Let me not be remorseful. Let me not be regretful. Why is that? This is the dependent origination. Buddha said, because when the foundation is strong, powerful, we don't have to wish the building to be strong. It naturally will be strong. Similarly, when virtue is good, make it firm, reinforced, and then in the process of practicing, we don't have to wish, let me not regret, let me not be regretful, because that is the nature of the foundation of the practice. It does not make you regretful. So we don't have to wish for that. And then one who does not regret for anything, uh, he does not have to wish, let me not, let me have joy. Because when we are steady and confidence and we are answering our own conscience and we are doing what is beneficial to us, others, and both, then naturally joy arises. So the person does not have to wish for joy to arise. It naturally arises when the other factor of previous factor is is strong and powerful. When one is joyful, one does not have to wish to have for rapture to arise. Uh, Rapture is sort of happiness. Rapture needs a strong foundation when the previous state is strong. So the rapture depends on the previous practice. Uh, so that is very important thing for us to gain rapture. Once we gain rapture, we don't have to wish to feel tranquil, calming. I want to clarify these three terms: joy, rapture, and calm or tranquil. Uh, because joy, we are talking about the spiritual joy, spiritual rapture, and spiritual tranquility. This joy is not sort of joy with greed, hatred, or delusion, and therefore this joy it will not be kind of excitement. When ordinarily, when the mind is not liberated or not geared towards spiritual growth, spiritual development, anybody can have joy. You suddenly meet somebody, you will be joyful and you will be happy. And in these situations, you all know how you react for that situation. And that is the situation you are excited, very much active. Uh, you even cannot sit in one place quietly because you are so much full of that kind of joy. But when spiritual joy arises, happiness arises, because that joy is calming, soothing, relaxing, peaceful kind of joy. And then happiness also arises that makes you even more calm, relaxed, and peaceful. Then you will see you are full of tranquility. Your body and mind is tranquil. You remember in mindfulness of breathing meditation or mindfulness in breathing section in Anapanasati, for foundations of mindfulness, Satipatthana and so forth, as you keep breathing and you come to a state which is called Passambhayam Kaya Sankarang, tranquilizing the bodily activities. Bodily activities are breathing, body conditioner, the breath. And breath become calm, relaxed, peaceful, and then you feel tranquil, relaxed, calm. So in both Anapanasati Sutta, Samasatipatthana Sutta, this is what you have. To get that particular state, you are from the very beginning, you develop your mind. Depending on how you develop it, you gain tranquility. That's the dependent origination rule. Then You don't have to wish, let me be my body and the mind be tranquil, because it happens very naturally, because the mind is rapturous. When the body and mind are relaxed, you don't have to wish. Let pleasure arises. Let the pleasure arises in me. You know, the word pleasure, also you may remember, we use the word pleasure in ordinary day-to-day activities, in everyday experiences. We say, it's a great pleasure to meet you. You shake and get a pleasure to meet you. And they are going after pleasure. We acquire all these things how to have a pleasure. I eat this food to have a pleasure. I go to such and such to place to have a pleasure. And so forth. The word pleasure is used very loosely in day-to-day life. But that is not the kind of pleasure we gain from the spiritual practice. The beginning with the beginning with the foundation of morality. That's a different kind of pleasure. That pleasure even make you even more calm and more relaxed and peaceful. And then when the body, mind, everything is calm, based or dependent on the previous practices and experiences, uh, and when everything is calm, relaxed, the mind gain concentration. We don't have to wish to gain concentration. This happens to many people when they especially come to meditation. They grind their teeth and work very hard to gain concentration. They never gain concentration. By grinding teeth and cursing and trying harder, you cannot gain concentration. Concentration, and also you don't have to wish to gain concentration. When you follow the previous steps as recommended and practice them, joy, rapture, pleasure naturally arises, and then concentration also very naturally arises. Another thing is, when you gain concentration, if you are not mindful, remember in the Buddhist practice, you must gain concentration with mindfulness. If you gain concentration without mindfulness, you will fall asleep. That is not meditation. When you have that kind of concentration, you don't see anything because your mind is drowsy, sleepy, and it is very unclear. When the unclear, drowsy, sleepy state, you don't gain concentration. When you don't have that and following the steps, depending on how you practice them, you gain concentration. When you gain that kind of concentration, where there are no hindrances, no one of them is sleepiness and drowsiness, none of them is there. Mind is very, very clear, calm, peaceful. Then you begin to see the subtlest thing in your life. subtlest thing. What are the subtlest things that you experience? Friends, we all know we breathe, always we breathe and breathe and breathe. What does it do? It conditions the body. How? It brings oxygen to the body to make it work. Without oxygen, no matter how many other things you put into the body, we cannot live. And this is why it is called, the breath is called body conditioner, kaya sankara, body conditioner. In Chula Vedala Sutta we mentioned it earlier, Venerable Arahant Bhikkhuni Dhammadinna mentioned to another Anagami Upasaka called what do you call Visakha, that inhaling, exhaling is called body conditioner, Kaya Sankara. Why it is called body conditioner? Because it is this inhaling and exhaling that inhaling particularly brings oxygen, exhaling put out oxygen free air, deoxygenated air. And that is how it is conditioned. Now, when this breath becomes subtler and subtler and subtler, very calm, relaxed and peaceful, still breath is going on and on and on, because without that we cannot live. And then we feel the freshness of our lungs. When oxygen comes to the lungs, blood comes to the lungs, oxygen comes from outside, then that blood gets oxygen, then we feel a very deep, subtle, pleasant, relaxed, peaceful feeling that we normally don't see if we don't gain concentration. And that pleasant, beautiful feeling, unfortunately, does not stay too long. As we breathe out, that feeling is no longer there. And we can notice this. That means the pleasantness, unpleasantness, the way how the lungs are functioning, operating, we begin to feel. And then that's called Yatha Bhuta Jnana Darsana, seeing things as they really are. We see this happening, at the same time we see how feeling arises along with our breathing, along with the lungs expanding and contracting, along with the lower abdomen contracting and expanding. And when the breath is leaving, the feeling changing, and all these activities we notice, we begin to see, we see, and you can see these activities are always taking place all the time. Very deep, very profound awareness of changes or impermanence. Friends, when the mind is, we are agitated, moving here and there, doing various sort of things without any concentration, you don't experience this. And therefore, uh, depending on all this practice, you experience this. Depending on the practice, you gain concentration. With the concentration, you can see this. You may not believe in any of these things. You don't have to believe. But you just try to follow the steps and see how you develop them, and how your mind slowly, gradually becomes calm, peaceful, relaxed, gain concentration. You don't say, this is my concentration, this is my feeling, this is my perception. None of these things you should then, if you begin to think all these things, you activate your mind. And the mind goes here and there. So many trillions of things can be triggered to appear in the mind. And therefore, don't think, I am in such and such a stage, I feel this, I did this. Don't think of that. Let these things happen. You can see the mind. Also, you have to be quite alert and awake, not to fall asleep. If you fall asleep and spend the whole hour, and if there is somebody ringing bell, you woke up, you may say, I had a wonderful meditation, I went to the fourth jhana, where you had good sleep and dreams. Not that kind of jhana you gain. You are gaining really deep awareness without words, non-verbal awareness, understanding, insight, wisdom arises in the mind. Non-verbal. Wisdom is not a word. Insight is not a word. And that arises in you. Only you are aware of it. You know, you cannot cheat others. Sometimes I have heard and seen some people pretend to have attained such a higher stages, and they want to get publicity and call the newspapers and go to the internet and say, I am such and such a stage, I have attained such and such a jhana, I am an arahant, I am a sotapanna. If you want to come to attain sotapanna, I give you sotapanna method and give you sotapanna certificates and so forth. You can hear all these things going on these days. So we normally, if somebody attains this stage, never try to make himself public, make himself famous. He just keeps, or he or she just keep practicing it. So when they see things as they really are, the person does not have to wish, let me be disenchanted. Disenchanted. That is nibbida. Nibbida. The word nibbida is a very deep, insightful, wise state of mind. Insightful state of mind. There is no any anger or disappointment or negative anything. The very sharp, clear, deep awareness of the truth. You saw the truth, when you saw the truth, that truth triggered your mind to let go all these things. Those things that we previously enjoyed through our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body and mind. All those things are no longer make us glad, happy, bring us pleasure. But we have a different kind of insight, and this insight, I cannot put it in word, you cannot put it in word, but you only get this insight, and then you turn away from those previously you said wonderful, marvelous, and pleasure, and so forth and so on. That point is called nibbida. Nibbida. And when this point arises, the mind naturally turns. We don't have to tell the mind, oh, okay, now ready, turn away. We don't have to tell. The mind knows exactly at that point to turn away. That's called viraga. 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 Raga is color. Viraga means discolor. Oh, raga is gripping, grip. Viraga is not gripping, letting go. That is a very difficult thing for most people. And when we let go of that state, that is called nibbida viraga, nirodha. Nirodha. Nirodha means cessation. Cessation. Nirodha has two aspects. One is uppada nirodha, other is anuppada nirodha. Uppada nirodha means arising and passing away. That is what is happening always. Always something arises and passes away. Yang kinchi samudaya dhamma sabbanta nirodha dhamma. Whatever arises, it passes away. Arising, passing away. Arising, passing away. Arising and passing away. This happens every nanosecond, all over the universe, not only in us. Things appear and disappear, appear and disappear. So fast, nobody can even record it. Uh, no matter how powerful uh, technology these days is, they have never discovered, nobody can, an instrument to see how quickly things change. They talk about atom, molecules, protons, neutrons, quarks, and they are moving up and down inside and always. I have heard them talk, I have not seen them, but there is no any instrument so far has invented or created to see how quickly things change, and then the mind knows the end of this craving, clinging, and all these things coming to an end. That is called nirodha. That is called anupada nirodha. Other one we always experience is upada nirodha. Arising and passing away, arising and passing away. When this arising and passing away comes to an end, one day it must come to an end. When it comes to an end one day, then there will be anupadinirodha, cessation for never to arise again. Cessation for never to arise again. And friends, that is this kind of dependent origination part, that is all positive and yet ascending in ascending order. The practicing dependent origination in this order is not very easy. Other one, descending order is very easy. Ignorance, activities, and so forth. When there is ignorance, naturally activities are there, and so forth. All these 12 steps. And that is where we see when this is, this is. When this is not, this is not. When this arises, this arises. When this ceases, this ceases. All these activities, function, actions are there in the descending order. In the ascending order, kicking the ladder every step, kicking, 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 destroy, 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 and finally go to the top and kick the ladder, break all the bridges and finish. That is called attaining Nibbana. That is called Anupada Nirodha. So, friends, This is in brief of the dependent origination in the ascending order. I'm sorry, in ascending order and positive order. With this, I like to end this talk, and I hope you all did not sleep while I'm talking, because this is not a very easy subject. This is not a comedy, nor is it a tragedy, not a tragicomedy, but it is very wonderful, noble thought of Dhamma, the truth. So, with this, I like to conclude this morning session. We all started practicing meditation, practice metta. Our intention is to wish all those who are suffering to be free from that suffering and return to their normal, regular health and live long in peace. And others who also are suffering by losing their friends and relatives. When we look at the Dhamma, when we practice Dhamma, when we see the dependent origination and so on, when we know the true Dhamma, we can get rid of, we can overcome our sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. And I hope they will return to that state very soon. And there are others who are in hospitals, taken care of by doctors, nurses, hospital staffs, trying to recover from the COVID-19. May they recover very quickly and attain liberation. And there are others who are financially and otherwise supporting them to show their wonderful, generous attitude, very compassionately, and may they live long to continue their noble work in good health. And then there are others who are leaders, especially. Some leaders have done very wonderful job controlling coronavirus in their respective areas, countries and nations and so on. May they continue their very noble service. Other leaders have not yet done that much, and they may have intention, perhaps they did not know what to do. Anyway, we want to wish them to be wise, understanding, and compassionate to do their service out of compassion for all these suffering beings. With this wish, I want to end this morning's session. Thank you for participating in it.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you so much,
Sadhu,
Bhante. Thanks,
sadhu.
Brian.
Thank you,
Sadhu.
Brian. Sadhu, sadhu. Thank you,
Thank
Bhante.
you,
Bye,
bye.
guys.